All right. So, how many of you guys have known anybody that has dyslexia? Okay, great. You guys know what it is?
Yes.
Sort of. Okay. Well, basically, in layman's terms, it's basically when you kind of get your letters mixed up, or you have trouble reading or spelling or hearing a word, writing it down, or vice versa. Okay, it can vary in severity, so it just depends on, someone can have a very mild case and not even know they have it, to a very severe case and actually need like special classes, so to speak, in just learning how to read and write. So did you guys ever, in your schools that you were in say elementary school or pre-elementary, know of someone that used to read out loud and have trouble, and the kids would kind of like snicker, laugh at them? Anybody, you had that happen to you? Okay. So basically, dyslexia was actually first discovered in 1881, and it was given its name in 1887. So that was quite a while ago that they first discovered that this is a possibility for people who have trouble reading and writing. There's been genetic research to see if it's passed down from generation to generation, neurological research to see if it's a deficient brain activity, and also just something that people get as far as just a learning disability. Now, basically it primarily manifests itself in written language, like I said earlier, reading and writing. So that's basically where it comes in, where you'll see it in your children possibly as they come into reading age. Now, it basically comes from when your brain processes things differently. For example, if you mix up your lefts and your rights, say you're as an adult driving, someone says turn left and you think to yourself, I'm turning right, or you just automatically turn right, that's kind of something that's associated with dyslexia. Now, this is a good point though. At this point, there are actually a lot of well-known actors and actresses and famous people that have been dyslexic, or that were dyslexic, that are good to note. For example, Salma Hayek is dyslexic. Walt Disney was actually dyslexic. Tom Cruise, Pablo Picasso, that's not too much of a surprise. Hans Christian Andersen. Hans Christian Andersen was dyslexic. Patrick Dempsey, Leonardo da Vinci was dyslexic. John Lennon, Woody Harrelson, Whoopi Goldberg, Thomas Jefferson, JFK, all these people, there's so many people currently that have dyslexia and have trouble with scripts, things of that nature.
Now look how successful they were.
Exactly. So it's amazing. So no people with dyslexia are the same. Like I said earlier, it varies in severity. So you can have from the person who's hardly dyslexic and they just can't tell their rights from their lefts, or to the person that just can't really read well just because they get their words mixed up, or they're reading something where they can't see the word for what it is. And a lot of times, actually, there are other problems that are associated with dyslexia that people mistake for that, like ADHD. It's associated with dyslexia, but it's not one and the same. It's just something that usually goes together. So, if someone struggles with reading, and they're a slow reader, potentially you have a kid, those of you who are doing daycare potentially will see this in your older toddlers. So if they have difficulty reading, possibly sounding out letters and words that other children can possibly do at that same time, that might be a sign of dyslexia. So as they get into their school ages, they can possibly, work with the teacher, see if they can get them some extra help, working with them at home. Basically, understanding is the easiest way rather than, ridicule or thinking that they're just not working hard enough. Because many people actually with dyslexia can have, genius abilities in other areas like art, architecture, things like this, painting, as a lot of the names I mentioned earlier, these people are painters and actors and things like that are better suited for them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're slow or dumb. It just means that they need a little bit of extra help. So like some examples of dyslexia would be like delayed speech in early toddler ages, mixing up sounds when they hear it with words, like how the kid would say aminal instead of animal, or biscotti instead of spaghetti. That's a little form of that. It's not just necessarily, at some ages it is just toddlers, other ages as it progresses is dyslexia. And as I said, confusion over left versus right. So, people with dyslexia do not make random reading errors. It's like I said, it's very specific. They can read a word on a page but won't recognize it on the next page. So it's kind of, like I said, a thing in the brain that changes. Right thing. a good example also is telling time on a clock. If you have a clock that has hands on it, a lot of dyslexic children may have time difficulty saying what time it is on a clock rather than if it has numbers on it. So as you can see, dyslexia can affect almost anybody, and it's hard to tell depending on the age of your child, and many adults suffer with it as well. And now treatment, as I mentioned, is, with education, help at home, just kind of working through it, getting into, help reading and help sounding out letters and writing and things of that nature. All in all, anybody have any questions in regard to dyslexia?
No more questions, I'm just surprised that it's as wide as it is. I mean, I honestly,
Everybody ain't dyslexic.
Yeah,
in
because
some
everybody
form or
says
another, I,
steady.
well,
Right.
Well,
True, I
I'm
mean,
trouble
I-
reading that clock sometimes.
And that's actually the actual truth of it, is that nobody, even through adults, it's not something that goes away. You may learn how to work with it, or learn how to move past it, or work around it, but it's something that you retain.
So is it something that they train teachers, all teachers to work with, or do you think if you become dyslexic,
They
you're put in
do
a
train
special
some
class?
teachers, they don't necessarily put you in a special class, but they should, if I'm not mistaken, train all teachers to learn how to work with that. You can request a specific teacher that has the knowledge, or, do your own research and work at home as a parent, that kind of a thing.
like if you're in grammar school, let's say, and your child is, they find out your kid's got dyslexia, do they call it special needs?
No,
Okay.
it's not special needs, it's just extra help, basically, more attention. I mean, I guess it can be considered special needs depending on the school district you're in or the people you're dealing with, but not necessarily as far as a technical term in relation to dyslexia. All right.
Thank you.
Very good.
There's a little balance.
And it was very informative.